The seconds are out. The crowd is waiting. The boxers are getting ready to battle. Time for another edition of the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast with your presenter, Greg Rashid.
Swaddy Kronk. This is Greg Rashid with another edition of the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. And if you're new to the program, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. That's why I'm saying Swaddy Kronk. It means hello in Thai. Hope you're having a great day. I certainly am. Happy to do this show as I always am. And if you're new to the program, what we do on here is fantasy fights. We take different modalities, computer games, card and dice games, and just mix things up and create fantasy fights. And today what we're going to have is a junior middleweight fight between Michael McCallum and Thomas Hearns. And originally, they were going to actually fight, but it never happened. So it's going to happen here today on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. Also, we talk about current news. We have debates on here. We have authors come on from time to time to talk about their books. And also at the end, we do a little music. But right now, and I have to say this before we go on, I want to thank again those folks who are listening in Kenya, picking up new people in Kenya. I'll say I'm thankful for that. I'm always thankful for all the folks that listen, especially those who listen every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on KUHSdenver.com, created by the one and only Henry Archuleta. And we're going to get right to our fight right now. And because we recently got a massive donation from someone in Bhutan, they asked that we put this commentator on to do the fights. So right now, we have a new guy on here. His name is Sonny Huff. So let's hear Sonny Huff as he does this fight, which is simulated, by the way, by Title Bout 2 PC game. So let's hear this right now on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
Hey there, sports fans. This is your Hall of Fame broadcasting legend, Sonny Huff, coming to you live from the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Folks, the lights are blazing, the crowd is roaring like a desert thunderstorm, and we've got ourselves a genuine barn burner tonight in the junior middleweight division. Two all-time greats stepping into the squared circle for what promises to be 12 rounds of controlled violence, slick boxing, and thunderous power. In the red corner, the legendary Motor City Cobra himself, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. And in the blue corner, the Jamaican sharpshooter, Mike the Bodysnatcher McCallum. Before we get to the first bell, let me paint the picture for you. Thomas Hearns, hailing from Memphis by way of Detroit, is one of the most feared punchers of his generation. This man has held world titles in 5 different weight divisions. That's right, 5. From welterweight to light heavyweight, the Hitman has left a trail of fallen opponents and shattered jaws in his wake. Remember that epic showdown with Marvin Hagler, or the way he dismantled Roberto Durán? Hearns is a tall, lanky sniper with a right hand that could knock out a freight train. He's got speed, reach, and that signature overhand right that comes out of nowhere like a lightning bolt. But tonight, he's facing a master craftsman who knows how to weather the storm. Mike McCallum, the Bodysnatcher, is a technician wrapped in steel. Born in Jamaica, raised in the toughest gyms, this guy is a 3-division world champion with a chin forged in Kingston heat and a body attack that'll make you wish you stayed home. McCallum doesn't just hit you, he dissects you. Liver shots, rib-crunching uppercuts, and that sneaky jab that sets up everything. He's slick, he's durable, and he's got the kind of ring intelligence that turns fights into chess matches with gloves on. These two are going to war, and I'm telling you, sports fans, your seatbelts better be fastened. Referee tonight is the no-nonsense Rudy Battle. Judges at ringside, Marcos A. Torres, John Stewart, and Eddie Wolf. Let's get it on. Round 1. There's the bell. McCallum comes out sharp, looking to establish control early. Oh, my, the Bodysnatcher is in control here, circling, probing with that educated jab. Hearns trying to counter, but McCallum misses a cross, clinches, and lands a crisp uppercut. That one got the Hitman's attention. McCallum scoring points left and right. A jab here, another uppercut there. He's got Hearns pinned on the far ropes, but Hearns fires back with a combination. The Cobra is dangerous when he's backed up. Still, McCallum is dictating the pace, clinching to slow things down when he wants. Another uppercut from McCallum, and another. This round is all Bodysnatcher so far. 10 seconds left. McCallum misses a final cross as the bell sounds. Round 1 to McCallum, 15-6. The Bodysnatcher took that opening stanza like a man who studied the film and brought the answers. Round 2. McCallum again pressing the action early, but Hearns slips away and clinches. The Hitman is moving now, trying to find his rhythm. They meet in center ring, and Hearns lands a hook. Nice shot. But here comes McCallum with a beautiful combination. 5 points worth of leather. Hearns looks stunned for a moment. The Bodysnatcher is warned for using the laces, but he's still in control. Hearns fires back with a jab, then a massive cross. McCallum's legs wobbled on that one. 5 points, and the Hitman is back in business. Late in the round, McCallum lands a hook, but Hearns closes strong with another cross. Round 2. Hearns 14, McCallum 9. What a seesaw. These two are trading momentum like it's going out of style. Round 3. Hearns comes out aggressive, but McCallum slips the cross. Counter jab from Hearns, and that one stunned McCallum. Oh, no. McCallum is cut high on the forehead. Blood is starting to trickle. The Hitman smells it and pours it on. A hook lands clean. McCallum tries to fight back with a jab, but Hearns has him pinned on the ropes. Jab, jab, combination from the Cobra. He's owning this round. Round 3, Hearns 15-4. The cut on McCallum is a factor now, and Hearns is hunting. Round 4, Hearns in control again, landing a hook and a cross. He's warned for an elbow, but the pressure continues. McCallum counters with a vicious combination. Hearns' knees buckled. That was 5 points of trouble. The Hitman answers with hooks and combinations of his own. But late in the round, McCallum lands a pair of shots and, oh man, Hearns is now cut over the left eye. Both men are bleeding. Both men are warriors. Round 4, Hearns 14, McCallum 11. This fight is turning into a war of attrition. Round 5. Hearns starts strong again, clinching early to catch his breath and reset. McCallum circles, looking for openings, but misses a big combination. Hearns tries a counter hook that sails wide. Close, but no cigar. McCallum fires back with a sharp uppercut that snaps Hearns' head back. 3 points for the Bodysnatcher, and you can see the wear and tear starting to show on the Hitman. They clinch in close quarters, 2 old warriors tying each other up like a pair of pretzels. Rudy Battle breaks them apart. Hearns gets busy, moving laterally, trying to establish position and cut off the ring. He's got McCallum pinned on the far ropes for a moment. The crowd loves it. But McCallum slips out and clinches again, slowing the tempo like the veteran he is. Now the fireworks. Hearns misses a cross. McCallum counters with a stinging jab. Hearns misses another jab, clinches to buy time. But here comes McCallum, exploding off the break with a thunderous combination. 5 points. Hearns almost goes down, driven back into the far ropes like a man hit by a truck. The Hitman's legs are rubbery. He's hanging on by sheer will and Detroit grit. McCallum stays on him, clinching to reset, then unloading another partially blocked combination for a point. The Bodysnatcher is in full control, picking his spots with surgical precision. Another combination lands for 2 more points, and a final jab just before the bell. 5 more points as Hearns is wobbled again into those far ropes. The crowd is on its feet. This is pure drama. Round 5, McCallum 18-2. The Bodysnatcher is taking over this fight, folks. Hearns is tough as nails, but the accumulation of punishment is starting to tell. Round 6, McCallum explodes out of his corner like a man on a mission. He's in total control, landing a vicious hook that rocks Hearns. 5 points. The Hitman is hurt bad. Another hook lands clean. 4 more points, and you can hear the leather popping. McCallum pours it on with a straight cross that drives Hearns into the near ropes. 5 more points. Hearns is on the verge of going down. The Bodysnatcher is relentless, missing 1 cross, but following up with another hook for 3, then a cross for 2. A minor cut opens under Hearns' left eye. Blood is flowing from both fighters now, turning this into a crimson chess match. McCallum keeps the pressure high, missing a jab, but landing another cross for 3 and a jab for 2. He's warned by Rudy Battle for holding and hitting. A little gamesmanship from the Jamaican, but the referee isn't having it. They meet in ring center, trading at close range. Hearns finds a moment of magic, landing a solid jab for 3 points that momentarily slows McCallum's onslaught. But the Bodysnatcher is right back at it. An uppercut for 2, missing a cross, then circling to establish position. Another combination lands for 2 points, and McCallum is moving like he owns the ring. With time ticking, McCallum lands 1 final hook for 3 points, misses a cross, and then cracks home a devastating cross. 5 points. Hearns' knees buckle badly. At 2:59 of round 6, referee Rudy Battle has seen enough. He leaps in and waves it off. The winner by technical knockout, Mike the Bodysnatcher McCallum. What a performance by McCallum. He absorbed the early power of the Hitman, weathered the storm, and then dismantled one of the greatest punchers of all time with precision, heart, and that signature Bodysnatcher pressure. Thomas Hearns showed why he's a legend, going down swinging with that legendary courage. But tonight, the Jamaican technician was just too much. Let's go back to our Bangkok studios. This is Sonny Huff, your Hall of Fame legendary announcer, signing off from Las Vegas. Until next time.
Man, that's Sonny Huff. I don't know about him. He's a character. I can find out more about him. They just, kind of dropped him on me. But the other guys we have that have done shows on here, like Straight Right Ray, he'll be back. But yeah, Sonny's interesting. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that fight. I think that's why Hearns never fought McCallum. I think in real life that would have happened. McCallum would have won the fight. Hope you enjoyed the fight. But right now we're going to have Felicia talking about this week in boxing history. And then we're going to have Malcolm and Ella talking about the upcoming fight, which some of you, depends on when you listen to this program, may have seen, but it's occurring this Saturday. And I'm talking about the Bruce Ennis versus Xander Zayas fight. And Zayas is the WBO and WBA junior middleweight champion. So let's hear what they have to say about that. But we're going to get right now to Felicia on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
Hi there, my amazing boxing family. This is your girl Felicia, coming to you live with all the love in my heart and another jam-packed edition of Boxing History this week, covering June 28th through July 4th. You know I live for these moments with you. Every single week I get to dive into the archives, relive the glory, the drama, the knockouts, and the pure magic that makes boxing the greatest sport on earth. But what really fuels me? You. I read every email you send, yes, all of them. Your stories about watching fights with your grandparents, your predictions for upcoming cards, your favorite underdog moments, even the ones where you just say, "Keep going, Felicia." They mean everything to me. You're not just fans, you're my boxing crew, my motivation, my reason for waking up excited every single day. So buckle up, because we're about to time travel through some absolute legends. June 28th, 1997. The bite heard around the world. Evander Holyfield versus Mike Tyson 2. We all know what happened. In one of the most infamous moments in combat sports history, Iron Mike took a chomp out of Holyfield's ear, not once but twice, leading to a disqualification victory for the real deal. Picture this. 16,000 plus fans packed into the MGM Grand, millions watching worldwide, and the tension thicker than a championship belt. Holyfield had already shocked the world by beating Tyson in their first fight. This rematch was supposed to be redemption, until Tyson decided to turn it into a dinner reservation. The bite fight became instant sports lore. Evander showed incredible heart and sportsmanship, continuing even after the bites. It remains one of the wildest nights in boxing, equal parts shocking, hilarious in hindsight, and a reminder that anything can happen when two heavyweights collide. Tyson later apologized, but the moment is forever etched in history. What a night. June 29th, 1956. Breaking barriers in the ring. Shout out to a true pioneer. Mario D'Agata became boxing's first deaf-mute world champion. He stopped Robert Cohen in the 6th round to claim the world bantamweight title. Imagine stepping into the ring with the entire world doubting what you could achieve because of your disabilities. D'Agata not only proved them wrong, he knocked them out. His victory was a massive moment for representation and resilience. He trained with incredible discipline and fought with a fire that transcended language. Every time I tell this story, I get chills thinking about the doors he opened for future generations. Boxing has always been about heart, and Mario D'Agata had one of the biggest. June 30th, 1966. The birth of a superstar. Happy birthday to one of the most electrifying human beings to ever lace up gloves, Mike Tyson. Born on this day, the man who would go on to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history at just 20 years old. Kid Dynamite exploded onto the scene with ferocious power, lightning speed, and that trademark peekaboo style under Cus D'Amato. Whether you loved him or feared him, you couldn't look away. From his rise as an undisputed terror to his cultural icon status, the tattoos, the voice, the pigeons, Tyson's journey is pure boxing theatre. He reminded the world that one person could captivate millions, and even decades later he's still evolving, showing us that legends keep growing. Happy belated birthday, champ! July 1st, 1967. Ortiz does it again. Carlos Ortiz proved once more why he's one of the all-time great lightweights. He knocked out Sugar Ramos in the 5th round, in their rematch, to retain his world lightweight title. Ortiz was a technician with power, a Puerto Rican superstar who combined slick boxing with devastating finishing ability. Sugar Ramos was no slouch, he was a former featherweight champ, but Ortiz's precision and experience were too much. This win added another chapter to an already Hall of Fame career. These classic lightweight battles from the 60s were pure boxing poetry, fast hands, sharper minds, and non-stop action. July 2nd, 1921. Boxing's first $1 million gate. Jack Dempsey versus Georges Carpentier, the very first $1 million fight in boxing history. Held in Jersey City, this showdown drew over 80,000 fans and shattered records. Dempsey, the ruthless Manasseh Mauler, faced the stylish French war hero Carpentier. The fight itself was dramatic. Dempsey won by KO in the 4th, but the real story was the spectacle. It proved boxing could be massive entertainment. Radio broadcasts, celebrity attendees, international intrigue. This bout basically invented the modern big-time fight promotion. Every massive payday we see today, they all trace their roots back to this historic night. July 3rd, 1931. Schmeling's Masterclass. Max Schmeling retained his world heavyweight title with a 15th round knockout of young Stribling in a grueling battle. Schmeling, the Black Ulan, was a scientific boxer with a killer right hand. This defense showed his championship mettle, going the distance and still finding the finish late. He would later become a complex figure in boxing history. His fights with Joe Louis carried enormous cultural weight. But on this night, he was simply the best heavyweight on the planet. July 4th, 1910. Independence Day. Fireworks in the ring. Jack Johnson versus James J. Jeffries, the fight of the century at the time. Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, defended his title against the undefeated former champ Jeffries, who had come out of retirement as the Great White Hope. Johnson dominated from start to finish, winning by TKO in the 15th round in front of a massive crowd in Reno, Nevada. The fight was loaded with racial tension and social significance that went far beyond sports. Johnson's skill, charisma, and defiance made him one of the most compelling figures in American history. On Independence Day, he reminded everyone what true freedom and excellence looked like in the ring. Pure fireworks! Whew! What a week in boxing history, right? From ear-biting chaos and barrier-breaking champions to million-dollar spectacles and Independence Day dominance, this sport never fails to deliver drama, inspiration, and unforgettable moments. Thank you for spending this time with me, my beautiful boxing family. I read every email, every comment, every message you send. You make this journey so special. Whether you're a long-time diehard or just discovering the sweet science, I love you all so much. Keep those gloves up, keep loving this sport, and I'll see you next week for more history, more stories, and more love. Your girl always, Felicia.
Welcome to the debate. On June 27th, an undefeated champion is going to step into the ring at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn to fight at the 154-pound junior middleweight limit. But by the time the opening bell actually rings and the referee steps back, his opponent is going to weigh close to 180 pounds.
Right, carrying the bone density and the physical leverage of a cruiserweight, essentially.
Exactly. So how exactly does a phenomenal, explosive, pure welterweight prodigy survive that kind of structural physics?
I mean, that is the exact tension we are looking at. We have Duran Boots Ennis boasting a record of 35-0 with 31 knockouts, officially moving up to claim his territory at 154 pounds.
Yep.
And standing across from him is 23-year-old Xander Zayas, 23-0, who just unified the WBA and WBO junior middleweight titles with a remarkably disciplined victory over Abbas Barao. We are looking at two fighters at the absolute vanguard of the sport, risking their perfect records to become the definitive face of this division.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this matchup, and I just don't see a clear path to victory for Zayas. Jaron Ennis isn't just a great boxer. He is an unsolvable puzzle.
Unsolvable?
Truly unsolvable. He's a generational talent, and I know we throw that phrase around entirely too much in combat sports, but with Boots, the biomechanics actually back it up. I believe his elite adaptability, his spatial awareness, and his sheer offensive firepower make his victory here an inevitability.
Well, I have to completely disagree with you there. When you strip away the highlight reels and look at the actual physics of a boxing match, Zayas' disciplined fundamentals and his massive natural size advantage present a structural threat perfectly designed to exploit Ennis's specific defensive habits.
But do they, really?
They do. The fundamentals strictly favor the bigger, structurally sound fighter in this matchup. Look, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard analysts say that Boots Ennis creates angles or that he, adjusts his geometry. But what does that actually mean mechanically?
Right, the pivoting.
Exactly, the pivoting. It means that when Ennis is attacked, he doesn't just take a linear step backward like a conventional fighter. He pivots his lead foot entirely outside his opponent's stance. This takes his head completely off the center line.
Oh, for sure. He's elusive, right? So by the time Zayas loads up his rear hand, Ennis is already standing at a 45-degree angle where Zayas physically cannot reach him without losing his balance. And beyond those sheer physical gifts, we really have to talk about his preparation.
You're bringing up the camp, aren't you?
I have to. Ennis just completed a high-altitude sparring camp in Truckee, California at nearly 6,000 feet above sea level, where he sparred extensively with Canelo Alvarez.
Hold on, I want to address that Canelo camp right away because I think people are entirely misreading what that actually provides.
How so?
Well, I don't doubt the value of sharing a ring with a pound-for-pound great, obviously, but we have to look at the stylistic reality here. Canelo Alvarez and Xander Zayas are diametrically opposed in how they operate.
I wouldn't say diametrically opposed.
Oh, they absolutely are. Canelo is a slow-footed, defensive counterpuncher. He plants his feet, walks you down behind a high guard, and forces you to commit first so he can load up a devastating single-shot counter. Xander Zayas does absolutely none of those things.
Sure, Zayas is a volume guy.
Exactly. Zayas is a highly disciplined volume combination puncher who lives on his toes. He utilizes constant lateral movement. So while Ennis may have learned patience against the static counterpuncher, Canelo's style does nothing to prepare Ennis for a guy who throws a rapid three-punch combination and then completely pivots out of range before the counter can even launch.
I see why you'd make that distinction, but frankly, it's not about mimicking the exact style of your upcoming opponent. It is entirely about neurological processing speed.
Neurological processing?
Yes. Think of Canelo's famous shoulder roll like a slanted roof in a hailstorm. When you spar a guy who does that, you aren't stopping the kinetic energy of the punch. You're watching your punch slide off harmlessly and then immediately paying the price with a counter right hand.
Right, you get punished for reaching.
Exactly. When you spar a supercomputer like Canelo, you learn the crucial 1/10 of a second difference between landing clean and getting countered. It forces your visual processing to speed up.
Okay, but...
Let me just finish the thought. If Ennis can read the microscopic weight shifts of Canelo Alvarez inside the pocket, then reading the conventional, albeit sharp, combination punching of Zayas becomes like reading large print text. Zayas is a textbook fighter, and Ennis thrives on breaking textbook rhythms because he operates completely outside conventional geometry.
But, conventional geometry works for a reason, doesn't it? It's structurally sound, it obeys the laws of physics, and that brings us back to the sheer physical reality of the 154-pound weight class.
The size difference.
The massive size difference. You called Zayas textbook, but he is a huge, structurally imposing textbook fighter. As we mentioned, he walks around at 190 pounds between camps. He has the bone density of a much larger man. His strategy is going to be incredibly physical.
You think he's going to try and bully Ennis?
Yes. He is going to target the body relentlessly. And I want to explain why that matters mechanically. When you have a naturally larger man constantly touching your ribs, leaning his full body weight on the back of your neck in the clinches, it physically squeezes the oxygen out of your lungs. It drains the glycogen from your muscles.
You're assuming Ennis is just going to stand there and let Zayas lean on him?
You won't have a choice. Because Ennis relies so heavily on explosive slipping, rolling, and lateral movement, he burns a massive amount of ATP, the energy currency of the cell.
Boxing is exhausting, yes.
Right. But it takes significantly more energy to explode out of the way of a punch than it does to just block it with a high guard. By round 6 or 7, when those energy reserves are depleted by Zayas' body work and sheer weight, that explosive head movement slows down by just a fraction of a second.
And you think Zayas capitalizes there?
That is exactly when Zayas' persistent, piston-like jab is going to find a home. Zayas is going to force Ennis to operate in unfamiliar physical territory, testing if a welterweight frame can absorb real junior middleweight punishment.
I'm just not convinced by the idea that Ennis's frame can't handle it because, well, we already have empirical evidence of how his body translates to 154 pounds. Look at his divisional debut against Usman Lima.
Lima's not Zayas.
No, but Ennis did not look like a blown-up welterweight struggling with the size of a new division. He looked like an apex predator. He stopped Lima in the first round in under 2 minutes.
He did.
His fast twitch muscle speed translated perfectly, and his kinetic chain, the way he generates power from the floor up through his hips, clearly carried up in weight. And frankly, if Zayas tries to enforce his size and make it a grinding physical fight, I think it backfires horribly.
How does utilizing his biggest advantage backfire?
Well, trainer Stephen Edwards made a brilliant point about this matchup. He warned that if Zayas decides to stand and trade on the inside to prove a physical point, it is only going to make Boots meaner and more spiteful.
Okay, but you're bringing up the Usman-Lima fight as the baseline. Lima literally stood center ring with his chin in the air and allowed himself to be hit. Zayas is never going to give Ennis that kind of stationary target.
Even moving targets get caught by Ennis.
Sure, but to address the Stephen Edwards point, Edwards is right that if Zayas stands and trades, it favors Ennis. But Zayas' entire methodology is based on not standing and trading. It's about accumulation.
But if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, wait, Zayas has 13 knockouts in 23 fights. He simply does not have the raw one-punch power to keep a devastating puncher like Ennis honest.
Power isn't everything.
But if Zayas lacks the power to actually hurt him, won't throwing those high-volume combinations simply serve as an invitation for Ennis to slip the second punch and unleash devastating counterfire?
See, that is a fundamental misunderstanding of how power and respect work in a boxing ring. You do not need one-punch, lights-out power to command respect. You need timing, accuracy, and accumulation.
You need to be able to hurt the guy to stop him from walking through you.
No, Zayas doesn't need to separate Ennis from consciousness with a single shot. He needs to interrupt the neurological signal of Ennis's attack. Zayas' jab acts as a sensory disruptor. A good job doesn't just snap the head back, the glove literally obscures the opponent's line of sight, blinding them to the right hand that follows a split second later.
If it lands.
It will land. And we really have to talk about Ennis's documented mechanical flaws because they are real.
I wouldn't call them flaws. I'd call them calculated risks.
I'd definitely call them flaws. When he faces southpaws, he frequently slips inside the lead foot. For anyone who hasn't laced up gloves, slipping inside means that instead of moving your head to the outside away from your opponent's rear power hand, you move your head directly into its potential flight path.
Right, it's unconventional.
It is a high wire act. It's incredibly dangerous. He also gets hit by the jab more than a fighter of his caliber should. If Zayas repeatedly feeds that space with a calculated lead hook or a right cross, Ennis's aggressive head movement becomes the exact mechanism of his own knockout. He is literally moving his chin into the collision.
That's a fascinating way to look at it, though I would frame it entirely differently. You're isolating mechanical habits like leaning to the left or slipping inside as if they are static, amateurish mistakes.
They are mistakes when you fight a disciplined counterpuncher.
But with a switch-hitting savant like Jaron Ennis, what looks like a defensive liability on tape is very often a deliberate trap. He is leaving a perceived opening, essentially begging his opponent to throw that power hand into the space, purely so he can slip it by a millimeter and counter over the top.
That assumes a lot of perfection on his part.
He's proven it. When Ennis shifts from orthodox to southpaw, he changes the lead foot dominance, which entirely scrambles his opponent's muscle memory for distance. He thrives in those chaotic exchanges where conventional fighters panic. When you say Zayas will throw a three-punch combination and pivot out, that assumes Ennis is going to politely stand there, accept the rhythm, and wait his turn.
Right.
Ennis breaks rhythm. He intercepts you between your first and second punch.
And that transitions us directly into the psychological warfare of this fight. Because the line between a brilliant trap and a devastating defensive liability is almost always drawn by hubris.
Hubris?
Yes, and Zayas has explicitly pointed this out. He stated that Ennis is vastly underestimating him. When Ennis was asked about Zayas recently, he was incredibly dismissive, saying, "I don't really see much. I am taking over. This is my division."
That's just confidence.
That kind of overconfidence is incredibly dangerous when you are fighting a bigger man. Ennis has a known documented tendency to showboat when he feels he is dominating a round. He'll drop his hands, stick his chin out, and shuffle his feet.
That's just part of his rhythm. It keeps him loose.
It's a mechanical failure waiting to happen. Biomechanically, dropping your hands to your waist increases the distance your glove has to travel to protect your chin by over a foot.
Obviously.
And at the elite championship level, that extra foot of travel time's an eternity. Against B-level opposition, you get away with it because they are too intimidated to pull the trigger. But against the highly disciplined, unified champion like Zayas, who thrives on capitalizing on structural mistakes, showboating is fatal.
I think Zayas is the one who's going to find himself intimidated once he feels that power.
I disagree. Zayas is walking into the Barclays Center with the cold, calculated mindset of a fighter who knows exactly what his opponent's blind spots are. He is banking on Ennis getting bored, getting arrogant, and creating that mechanical opening.
Well, hubris implies a detachment from reality. What Ennis is displaying isn't arrogance. It is the absolute certainty of a fighter who has seen every trick, every angle, and every geometric adjustment a boxer can possibly make.
He hasn't seen a 190-pound Zayas in the ring.
Former champion Zab Judah brought this up perfectly. He noted that Zayas' resume, as polished and unified as it is, simply has not prepared him for the depth of experience and the sheer, untelevised brutality of a Philadelphia gym.
Okay, let's unpack that.
What exactly is the difference between a Philly gym war and the championship bouts Zayas has been fighting?
It's completely different. In a Philadelphia gym, you aren't fighting a sanitized, carefully match-made bout where everyone rigidly obeys the rules and the referee swoops in to protect you the second you get hurt.
Right.
You are locked in a sweaty ring with hungry fighters trying to take your head off, utilizing survival tactics and dirty boxing on the inside that you will never see on a top-ranked broadcast tape. You learn to bite down on your mouthpiece and solve incredibly complex, violent puzzles in real time, often while exhausted.
Sure, but...
So when Enes looks at Zayas and says, "I don't really see much," he isn't ignoring Zayas' skills. He's utilizing pattern recognition. He's looking at a textbook puncher and realizing, I have already solved this exact geometric equation 1,000 times behind closed doors. His mentality is built in the fire.
Look, that sounds incredibly romantic, and it makes for great boxing lore. But gym wars are not world title fights under the incredibly bright, pressurized lights of the Barclays Center.
Experience is experience.
But Zayas doesn't need a gritty gym legend to validate his mentality. He has been a professional since he was 16 years old. He signed with Top Rank as a teenager. He's been systematically groomed for this exact psychological pressure his entire adult life.
Groomed is the key word there.
But it works. When Zayas went into his last fight against the Boss Barao to unify the titles, people deeply questioned if he was mentally ready for that level of step-up, if the pressure would crack him. And instead, he boxed an absolute masterclass. He has an unshakable, terrifying discipline.
Barao is not Boots Ennis.
No, but when an improvisational genius like Ennis meets an opponent who simply refuses to break structure, who refuses to get rattled by the showboating or the weird angles, the genius very often gets frustrated. And at 154 pounds, against the guy who walks around at 190, one frustrated mechanical mistake in distance management can change the entire trajectory of the fight.
I hear your point on discipline, but let's remember what happens in combat sports when rigid structure meets an overwhelming, chaotic force. You can have the most disciplined, perfectly mapped out game plan in the world, but when you get hit with a shot you physically could not track, a punch thrown from a blind angle that conventional boxing mechanics dictate shouldn't even exist, which is exactly Ennis's specialty, structure tends to disintegrate.
That's assuming he lands that shot flush before the bodywork takes its toll.
Zayas is incredibly composed against guys who fight exactly like him, but he has never been hit by someone with the explosive, multidimensional power and spatial awareness of Jaron Ennis. Furthermore, let's go back to that high-altitude camp.
The Truckee camp again.
Yes, training at 6,000 feet doesn't just build muscle. It causes the kidneys to release EPO, increasing red blood cell count. When Boots comes back down to sea level in Brooklyn, his muscles are going to be supercharged with oxygen. It's a Lay's lactic acid buildup.
So he has cardio, sure.
It's more than cardio. So that explosive athleticism you think will fade in the later rounds, it's going to be there in round 11, just as fast as it was in round 1. He has merged his raw Philly survival instincts with the refined, high-altitude, physiological engine of a pound-for-pound great.
Which honestly perfectly frames the fundamental clash of methodologies we are going to see here. You view Ennis's improvisation and athleticism as an overwhelming force that shatters fundamentals. I view Zayas' discipline as the ultimate neutralizing agent to that chaos.
It's a classic clash of styles.
Exactly. Zayas' jab isn't just an offensive weapon. It's a sensory tool. He uses it to measure, to blind, and to constantly reset the engagement distance. Every time Ennis tries to leap in with one of those unorthodox angles, he is going to find a stiff left glove waiting for him, snapping his head back.
We'll see about that.
Zayas is only 23 years old, but he fights with the ring maturity of a 10-year veteran. He knows he doesn't have to match Ennis's highlight reel moments. He doesn't need to win the crowd. He just has to win 3 minutes at a time, behind the jab, heavily targeting the body, and systematically draining that high-altitude engine round by grueling round.
Well, it is a truly fascinating tactical collision. As we look to wrap up our analysis, I remain entirely firm in my position. Jaron Ennis isn't just an incredible athlete. He is a boxing savant who thrives on breaking a textbook fighter's rhythm.
Right.
His combination of explosive speed, unorthodox spatial geometry, and the refined tactical patience he acquired from sparring Canelo Alvarez makes him uniquely equipped to dismantle Zayas. I firmly believe his ability to force a fight into chaotic, unpredictable territory will allow his speed and spite to definitively take over the 154-pound division on June 27th.
And I maintain that Xander Zayas represents the absolute hardest stylistic and physical test for that kind of improvisation. Zayas is a naturally bigger, highly disciplined, unified champion who fundamentally controls the physics of the boxing ring.
He definitely has the size.
He does. His persistent jab, his brutal body attack, and his high-volume combination punching are perfectly calibrated to exploit Ennis's specific defensive tendencies and any moments of overconfidence. Zayas has the structural integrity, the physical size, and the boxing IQ to weather the storm and turn Ennis's showboating into a critical vulnerability.
Look, what is entirely undeniable is that this showdown at the Barclays Center is exactly the kind of high-stakes, prime versus prime fight the sport of boxing desperately needs.
Absolutely, 100%.
We're going to see two undefeated champions risk their perfect records and their unified titles to prove whether elite, adaptable athleticism or structurally imposing, disciplined fundamentals will ultimately rule the division.
Yeah, the tension between those two philosophies is what makes the sport so beautiful. It will undoubtedly reveal entirely new layers to both fighters' legacies, exposing what happens when their deepest combat philosophies are pushed to the absolute breaking point.
The physical mechanics have been broken down, the psychological warfare is set, and the collision course is scheduled for Brooklyn on June 27th. We'll leave it to you, the listener, to decide which methodology you'd bet your money on. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Hope you enjoyed that debate between Malcolm and Ella about the upcoming junior middleweight fight between Ennis and Zayas. And I'm gonna go out on a big limb here. And I know a lot of people are favoring Boots, but I'm gonna go with Zayas. What do you think? You'll know probably before me, but when this airs. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Right now we're gonna get to some music now. First from Bangkok's own Jade Mystique jazz group, and they're going to do a song called What is 250? And after that, we're going to have Durian Funk, and you're going to do an instrumental, which is a little classical with hip-hop, and it's called Wolfgang's Turnaround. So let's hear that on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. Hope you enjoyed that debate between Malcolm and Ella about the upcoming junior middleweight fight between Ennis and Zayas. And I'm gonna go out on a big limb here. And I know a lot of people are favoring Boots, but I would. And that's what happens when you're not looking at anything. You hit the wrong button. And anyway, hope you enjoyed those two songs there. The last one, that was by Durian Funk, and that was Wolfgang's Turnaround. And before that, we did Jade Mystique, and that was What is 250? A contrast there, but I hope you enjoyed those songs on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast. But this is Greg Rashid again. We got to get out of here right now. As we always say, go in love and go in peace. See you next time on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast, and do what you can to make your community, wherever you are, a better place, because we're in times that can be difficult, but if you can do something, just a simple little thing in your community, help someone, that's all you can do. So we'll see you next time on the Shoulder Roll Virtual Boxing Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Please become a member at patreon.com under the title Ringside Fantasy Fights and News. See you next time.